I am Phil.
I am Cristiano.
I am Kevin.
This is Manchester.
Let's get started.
So a mouth-watering tie in the Premier League today. This weekend, actually.
Just hit the camera.
He missed.
I wasn't aiming at anything. I was just rolling it away.
It's a big gap. There's the
There
goal.
you go.
That's better.
Well
I wasn't
done.
passing it to anyone.
Camera 5 just took a knock.
So you're telling me you meant to hit
Absolute
the camera?
rubbish.
Obviously you did. I'm only joking. He meant to do it.
I meant to do it.
He meant to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, do not work with animals or kids.
Rubbish.
You hit camera 5.
Oh, camera 5.
Manchester City, Manchester United. Thank you. This weekend, a mouth-watering tie.
It's going to be amazing. It always is, because there's talking points all over the place before you even get into the starting 11s, the managers. The history of the game is incredible. Both teams massively need a win.
Yeah.
City got back on the horse and won last week, controversially. But Man United need to convince everyone that they can get top 4.
Yeah.
My question to you, sorry, just because you said they need this, who needs it more?
Ooh.
Great one.
That's a great question.
Nice.
I think it's important to just as important to both.
No, you can't say both.
No,
Well,
we
it
don't
is,
like
but,
this.
but
We
in
don't
terms
like
of Man
this
United
thing.
finishing top 4, they need it. And in terms of Man City winning the league, they desperately need. Look, I'll go Man City need it more, because a little bit of the let's see, the shine's come off Man City in the last couple of performances against Tottenham and Everton. But I still think Man City are miles ahead of Man United. But I do think that Man United are capable of getting a result, certainly in this one-off occasion, because as underdogs, I think that suits Man United. I think all the pressure comes off them. Nobody expects them to do anything. They can say that in the dressing room. You know when you're up against it and you've got nothing, and especially when you've got good players in your dressing room.
So you look at that, Leroy, don't you? You go for City's point of view, with Liverpool breathing down their necks. They need it big time. But you look at Man United and you look at the teams behind them, West Ham and Arsenal, 3 games in hand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
so
you just
they
had a go at me
need...
for sitting on the fence. You just said the same thing.
No, I'm leaning towards Man United.
Are you leaning?
I am.
They need more.
I am.
Yeah.
Listen, you're going to say City because Liverpool are breathing down their necks, but the size of Man United, it would be a disaster for them if they don't get top 4.
You look at the table as it is. Manchester City currently 19 points ahead of Manchester United. But Pep Guardiola has lost more games to Manchester United than any other Premier League team.
Well, that's a great stat, JJ, and it just shows how important this game is to Man United, because they know for their fans this is the one time that they can get some sort of pride back, because City are miles ahead of Man United in all departments, off the pitch and on the pitch. Not in terms of fans around the world, but in terms of how they're moving forward, how they're organised. Since Pep's come in, how they're organised on the pitch, how they sign players, how they move forward every single year. Have Man United stagnated? Have they gone backwards? I think that's the only debate we can actually talk about in relation to United. But this one game means that United, for at least a couple of days or maybe even a week, they can.
It might be, from Man United's point of view, it might be, the kickstart in their season. Yeah. If they can get a result and a good one, and more importantly, a good performance, and take points off City, all of a sudden the shackles might be off a little bit, because we're still looking at Man United, the size of the football club they are, and it's imperative they do get top 4. But it might give them that little bit of confidence to kick on, because as we watch for them, it's a win, it's a draw, it's a win, it's a couple of more draws. They just can't get any momentum going.
And actually, that said, it's never really a good time to play Manchester City, because we know the quality that they have. But as you alluded to just now, Leroy, they've sort of not been at their sparkling best in recent games. Is that fair?
No, absolutely, Seema. Obviously started against Tottenham. I thought, by the way, Tottenham were terrific. There's their best performance of the season. But you think, all right, they're going to Everton. I thought Everton were terrific. We all know how unfortunate Everton were.
They were lucky, weren't they?
They were lucky. And then I watched them in midweek in the Cup. And do you know what? Against Peterborough, I know they made changes, but they still took a little bit of time to get going. They weren't their imperious usual, they were just a little bit off it.
Why do you think that is, by the way?
I just felt that defeat against Tottenham, not the stuffing out of them a little bit.
I think there's a different way of Man City. I think that's evolving over the last year, I would say, when I watch them. Normally when you watch Man City 2, 3, 4 years ago, they beat teams by 7, 6s, 5s. You go into Watford games, you go 8. Anyone can get a hammering. I think there's a lot more control. I think with John Stones being at right back, I think with Cancelo being at left back, there's more control about their play. If they go 1-0 up, unlike United, when they go 1-0 up, there's panic. Yeah. Desperation for the second goal. With City, it's like, we back ourselves, great technicians, manager knows what he's doing, players know what they're doing. If we need to beat you 1-0, We will.
But I also think they were found out a little bit against Tottenham because, the areas that they wanted to get into, Tottenham stopped them doing it. And then Everton stopped them doing it in a different way. We'll come to that a little bit later. But what, Man City want to do, we've talked about them being 5 across the front, getting into those areas, in around the 6-yard box. Tottenham stopped them doing it.
So do you think
doing it.
Ralph Rangnick will look at the Antonio Conte performance and Spurs' performance and go, that's exactly what we need to do.
He's got
counter-attacking football.
Counter-attacking football, but making sure you defend properly against this time.
But what are warning signs kind of already in place? I thought it was a little bit of a strange performance against Southampton a few weeks back when they drew. Ruben Diaz coming up with a goal, who now is going to be out for about 6 weeks. They just didn't seem to, even though they went and they won a couple of games after that, Don, the performance against Everton, of course, losing against Tottenham, and now losing someone as influential as Ruben Diaz. How do you see that playing out for them?
I would probably imagine he'll shift John Stones back from right back into centre back to play alongside Laporte, Cancelo at left back, Kyle Walker at right back. I think that's the logical one. As Pep could play Mahrez at left back if he wants, and Raheem Sterling at right back. We haven't got a clue, but that's the more likely scenario at the back.
But whoever plays up front for Manchester United, would you rather be playing against Stones and Laporte or Diaz and anyone else?
Do you know what I think they look at it, and I think you always look at who you're playing against, i.e. 1v1s, and I think Man City, it doesn't matter, Man United, when they're analysing the back four of Man City, they'll recognise, they'll respect, and they know they're unbelievable players, but they'll also be thinking about their attributes, and if Rashford plays, he's quicker than anyone back there for Man City. Elanga seems to be the kid that's in the most astonishing form.
Yeah.
Ralph Rangnick said a couple of weeks back, he went, if my players played like Anthony Elanga, we'd be fine because the kid's got no fear.
Exactly.
And he was one of the best players against Watford. He was my man of the match by a mile. So I'm thinking if you're Rangnick, you might have to sacrifice. That's a whole new debate who he sacrifices. Is it Ronaldo? Is it Pogba? Because I think they need pace.
Really, really interesting point now on Ralph Rangnick and him terming it in that way about playing with fear, Leroy, because I remember not too long ago looking at Marcus Rashford, a young Marcus Rashford, thinking, he plays with absolutely no fear. It's almost as though the burden of getting points and results for Manchester United is weighing down not only on someone like Marcus Rashford, but the senior players as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And when you start to think about things too much in this game, things start to go wrong. And United are at their best when they've got a flow about them, when they've got a rhythm about them, and they haven't found that rhythm consistently under Rangnick.
Wow, 187th Manchester derby.
Just a few.
Wow, just a few over the years. So team selection is vital for both. As we've already said, this is such a huge fixture for both teams for different reasons. So who have you gone with for Manchester City?
I was going to go for you, Simi, in your Man City.
I
decided not to. But obviously, John Stones in for Diaz, who's injured. Kyle Walker coming at right back. I think that's more or less nailed on. I mean, it's more difficult in the front six. I think the one other change that might happen is Bernardo Silva going into midfield because of his energy, and maybe Mahrez, who scored in the Cup in midweek. But you just felt the players on the bench in midweek in the Cup will certainly be in the side. Foden was terrific, and De Bruyne was on the bench, as was Sterling. So I think that's what our Man City will start. Dom, how do you think Man United will start? More difficult for the Reds?
Nothing like this. Because this is in collaboration what you think they're going to do.
But there's a reason why we've done this, isn't
yes.
there?
Well, there is, because how do we fit Paul Pogba, Sancho, Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes into some sort of system?
Yeah, and it's really difficult, isn't it? And that's what we came up with, but we don't think that would work. And why wouldn't it work?
Well, I just think there's too many attacking players. That sounds crazy, Man United, because over the years they are an attacking side and they want to be known as entertainers and they play cracking football. But in the form that they're in, individually and as a team, can you really play Paul Pogba, Sancho, Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes all together? So I would say not.
Who would miss out of those?
In my humble opinion, if I was picking the 11, Bruno.
Really?
I don't think I'd play him.
Why?
I watch all the Premier League games and I watched him closely against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. And his distances were off closing down. He wasn't particularly great defending. He was having one of them games that we've all had where he was going for Hollywood passes and they weren't coming off. And I can remember on the night firing a tweet off because I was watching the game and I was intrigued to sort of hear what Man United fans were thinking. And my tweet was, if you're Ralph Rangnick now at this point in the game, about an hour in, would you take Bruno Fernandes off because he was one of them that we've all had? He was having a bad game. There's nothing coming off for him. Or would you leave him on hoping he'll produce one pass? And they left him on and he produced the one pass for Anthony Elanga's goal.
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma. If you don't get Bruno Fernandes service and you don't get him on the ball, he's not going to be the man that's going to track back. Nor is probably Ronaldo.
Yeah.
He wants to play through the middle. Then you've got these guys in midfield, who I think, when you look at that three, is very, very good. I think that's the best three for me in Man United.
Yeah.
Paul Pogba off the left-hand side. But the dilemma is no Ante de Lange, who's been in their best form, in my opinion, over the last couple of weeks. Sancho's been in good form. It's just a massive topic. I mean, I've not even got Harry Maguire in before we even go to Lindelof and Varane or Maguire. There's more questions, I think, than answers.
Well, let's talk about the front three, because last season Martial played, or he's not there anymore. Elanga's been in great form and he's got pace.
Yeah.
And the plan last year was the counter-attack, and it worked for Man United, didn't it?
It did. That's why I'm a little bit